So everybody is talking about how great AI is.
Yes.
And there's also a lot of fear mongering in terms of the AI is going to take over the world and do interesting things. But today we're going to be discussing the dumb side of AI. I'm sure most of the people would have noticed that if you already know a subject really well, and then if you go and ask AI a question, it'll come up with a very beautiful, logical, all those logical points, and then give you an answer. And in a lot of cases, if you already know the subject very well, and you know that the answer is sort of, let's say, in the north, and so you look at that, all that beautiful content, the response given by AI, and you see that AI is taking you in a place which is south. And you say, hang on, but this is wrong. So, basically you tell AI, your answer is wrong. It's way off the mark. It's supposed to be in the north. And AI says, oh, I'm really sorry, you're right, da, 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 da. It goes back and, does another logical, gives you another logical 5 or 6 points and comes up with a conclusion and gives you an answer. And you look at that answer again and you say, hang on, it's just moved from south to southwest. It's still way off the north. So you go back and tell IT, you listen, you are completely AI, I'm sorry, which is the same thing because AI has come out of the IT, but you're right. So you go and tell the AI, you're still southwest, you're supposed to be in the north. And AI says, oh, you're absolutely right, I'm really sorry, da, da, da. I know it is very frustrating. And let's start up with, another beautiful logical response. And then when you look at the response, you say, okay, it was south, it went southeast, now it's gone southwest, it's still not in the north. And then you get really frustrated, and you want to tell the AI, how dumb can you get? But then you think, maybe the AI will find it offensive. I'm just kidding. And so it may not give me the right answer.
I think it gets manipulated a lot, and
yes and no, not necessarily. You just need to remember that most of the AI that we're looking at right now, these are large language models, okay? Which means they've been sort of really programmed very well in terms of to communicate in a certain language. So you may feel that the AI is trying to agree with you, but in reality, it's actually just looking at the information, processing that information, and trying to grade it to you in a logical structure. And just before I come to what we are saying here is that, in a lot of instances, if you really know the subject, you can find out that AI can very confidently, with a lot of data behind it, take you to a wrong place. I'm not saying it happens all the time, but it happens a significant number of times, when you really know what subject you're talking about.
So if you had to describe your experience with AI, and you could give a percentage of how many times it has been useful to you and how many times has it made you take a U-turn and wasted your time and so on and so forth, what would you say?
Well, I mean, that's exactly where the dilemma is. So if I'm asking AI something that I don't know, it presents the response in such a logical answer that you think it is saying the right thing. So it may be saying the right thing. But that's exactly what the dilemma is. If you really know the subject well yourself, then you can tell if it's broadly speaking in the right space or not. And so it's impossible, and that is why it may have right answers, it may have wrong answers. But as people begin to rely more and more on AI, I suspect there's going to be an era of dumb experts. Because you have people who are going to be relying, on AI for a lot of their research. And because they haven't done their independent, validated research.
Yes.
It's like a closed cycle. You depending on AI to do your research for you, so it gives you a number of different references. Looks very credible, looks very logical, and you say, here, I've got 10 reasons why this is the right answer. And it could be completely wrong. So the confidence with which AI can take you in the wrong direction, is mind-boggling so far. Obviously, there are improvements, and it's improving all the time.
So basically, from what I understand, there is a very risky element in AI, that it's restricting you to a certain sphere of information or knowledge, which can be false or which can be true.
Correct. Absolutely. and so it's really important to keep this in mind. There's got to be a level of independent human validation. You can't just rely on AI because it gives you such a logical flow and a number of different references. Because I've seen that myself in a number of different areas.
Its foundation of knowledge is sometimes non-credible. It can take something from like some social media influencers. There are a lot of people with fake information, and they build upon that fake knowledge without credible backed scientific research. So then they present it. It shouldn't present anything which is not backed up.
That's why it's basically been given to the world for free mostly, because they want the AI systems to get trained in terms of continuously improve on their responses and get the wrong, incorrect information out of this. That's the plan.
Yes.
But what is happening so far is we've got to understand, just because the information looks very logical.
I think the issue is with the users and not with the AI itself, because AI is just a tool, and you will find that people will accept false concepts or ideas even without AI. So I think whichever kind of information that you're trying to research or consume, you have to think of it critically, or you have to analyze it critically, whether it's through AI or whether it's through any other
Absolutely,
kind of research.
and you've got to have independent verification, and that is why I believe that the books of paper, solid paper, are going to get, especially when it comes to texts which are, for example, if you talk about religious scriptures or other texts which are even in scientific works, the originals, where they're going to become more and more important, because if you're depending on just digital stuff on the internet, that can all be manipulated, and especially with the AI now, you can see more and more realistic videos coming out of videos and images and graphics coming out of AI. So unless it's going to be more and more important to preserve the original paper books that we have.
Yes.
Especially the older ones and the authoritative ones.
Yes.
Because they're going to become very credible.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we just blindly rely on whatever.
And AI should not build its opinions and knowledge on fake information which people just give in podcasts or shorts or reels or YouTube videos, because there are a lot of different false information.
That is correct, and that's where people who are actually.
I think one of the most interesting in this topic, the way that Islamic history has been recorded is one of the most authenticated, and the criteria that is used in recording it is has such a high bar of reliability and authenticity and truthfulness that I don't think that any other history or any other religion reaches that level of scrutiny and authenticity in comparison to Islam.
And then absolutely, and then now the interesting thing is that when we're seeing a lot of content in terms of the bright side of AI, and obviously AI is, just to make sure we're giving the right perspective, there is a lot of good stuff, information instantly that you can get from AI, because it's essentially getting better and better at looking at all the information, putting it in a logical structure and getting it to you in the most effective way. So there is a lot of value that you can get from AI in terms of learning and researching and all those things, but it's just keeping your eyes open to the fact that you can't just blindly trust the information or the conclusions that it is giving to you. Now, having said that, fear mongering is the other thing. And one of the other reasons it's so important to talk about the dumb side of AI is it's being presented as this absolutely perfect, continuously evolving intelligence that, there's a lot of fear mongering going on. Okay. And some of it is partly correct, but some of it is just, you almost feel that as if this is either being done on purpose by a certain segment of people, and by a lot of others, it's been just done on the innocent belief that this is the a perfectly evolving intelligence which will just get better and better and better and will take over everything.
I don't think that
So-
AI can supersede human intelligence. I
So
don't think it's possible for AI to supersede human intelligence because the way I think about it, and logically speaking, the inventor or the creator of a creation is always superior to its creation.
but this is an interesting subject. We'll keep talking about
Yeah,
it.
but it will go into too much detail
Yeah,
if I